Hey, it's Joe Crump. I'm going to show you how to use the Automarketer lead questionnaire to qualify and question your deals. You can actually use it as a script and type in the information as you go. It's really exciting. I'm going to show it to you on the Automarketer now. I want to show you how to use an automated seller questionnaire that you can use to create a shortcut when you're talking to your sellers, to get better at it and to have credibility and make sure you get the information that you need. Right now we're in the lead management section of the Automarketer, and these are the lead dash. This is the lead dashboard, and you know, if you're making calls to these people, here's one that says, "Give me a call." And let's say that I'm talking to them and I want to add a property to what they've got. So I can click on Add Property because I know that they've got one to sell, and I'll put let's just put Test here, and it's going to open up the lead questionnaire. This lead questionnaire has a lot of information in it. The thing I'm going to focus on here is the lead contact information. You kind of plug it in while you're doing it. You can put their address in. And if I just put in the address and the zip code and click verify, it'll find that property, it'll find it on Google Maps, and then it'll open up a bunch of options for you to work with that are pretty cool and make it easy for you to talk to these people while you're in this questionnaire. And then you can start moving down the page and asking them other information. How much do you want for it? What's the monthly payment? What's the down payment? How much do you think it's worth? And while you're talking to them, you can also click on Google Maps, and it'll show that property. It'll pull up that property that I just typed in, and I can see a picture of the property. And that makes me a little bit more competent when I'm talking to them, especially if I'm doing this remotely, and I can look up and down the street and I get a feel for the market and the area that it's in, or I can see it you know, on the map as well. I can also pull it up on Zillow, and it's going to pull up that property on Zillow. It's going to give me the value. It's going to give me the estimate, the zestimate and the rent zestimate. And I'll give me an idea of how big the property is and the square footage, any information that Zillow may have about the property, the lot, the size, the value, what it's based on, the tax and the price history, these types of things. I'm going to have all this information from Zillow. And when I'm talking to them, I can see where it's at on the map. So I can scroll back here, and I can see what side of town it's on, what else is available around it. Zillow is a wonderful resource, and that's why we tapped into it, so that you can have it while you're talking to these people in this conversation. I also tapped into Rent-O-Meter. This one you have to actually type in the address again. It won't let us do an API. But it'll tell us if you put that information in and put the rent that they want and the bedrooms and baths that they've got, it'll tell you if you're in the ballpark on the reasonableness of the rent that you want to charge for it. And that way, while you're talking to them, if they say, well, I want $1,500 for it, and you type into Rent-O-Meter, or you look in Zillow and it says that the rent is less than that, then you might ask them, well, how did you come up with that value? You know, that seems a little bit high for that market. Why do you think it's worth a little bit more than what the other properties are going for? And you can get that information while you're talking to them. And you know, as you're going through this, if you have all this information, if you ask them these questions, or if you have a telemarketer ask these questions for you, then you're going to know whether or not they're going to be good deals for you, and whether they're going to make sense for you to do this stuff. There's also a little button here called Selling Options, and if I open this thing, it shows all the different options that sellers have and the pros and cons of all of these options. Not all these options are working with us. They could continue to sell it for sell by owner, but here are the reasons why and why not. And if you click on this button, it'll open up the pros and the cons and the analysis of what it means to work for sell by owner. And if they don't want to do, you know, if they're going to continue that, they could sell it with an agent. And here are the pros and cons and the expenses of selling it with an agent, and the analysis of doing it that way. You can also tell them you can do it at fire sale prices. You can buy it for cash, or you could do a wholesale deal on it, and you can give the pros and cons on that, or short sales, or subject to, or land contract, or lease option. All these things are their options. And what we're trying to do as investors are trying to figure out what's the best option for them. Rather than thinking about ourselves and what we're trying to accomplish, think about them and what they're trying to accomplish, because the trust level will go way up if you actually do something that solves their problem. They're going to love you for it, and they're going to be more likely to work with you because of it. Now, I find that the options that we're giving them are usually better than their other options. It's certainly a lot cheaper than going with a realtor, and it's a lot more effective than being a for sale by owner, where 85 to 95% of for sale by owners don't succeed, which is, by the way, why we're going after for sale by owners, because we know that they're not going to sell it this way. They're going to have to find another option, and the very fact that they're selling it for sale by owner kind of gives us an idea that they don't really have a clue on how to go about this process. So that's why we use this, and that's why we use this this form. And of course, you can put all this information, at the house information, in here as well. And once you have this information in here and save it, now it's in your database. So when it's time to put that information on your listing site, your clone site, you can actually go to your inventory, and you'll find this information, this property information, and you want to save it before you leave, obviously. And let's say you find a property here, and I can actually, by clicking this eyeball, it'll put it on my listing site, or take it off my listing site. And let me show you what that looks like real quick. So it'll show up on your property listing site. And this is a sandbox thing. Obviously, you wouldn't put here's the title, but there's that property. And the other nice thing about these, while I'm here and talking about my listing sites, you can also have properties that are not your properties, that are other people in the data feed system, and you can have them. You can put them on your site so it looks like you're doing more business than maybe you are. It looks like you're actually in business instead of having an empty site because you got no properties, or maybe one lonely property on there. Now, the ones that will show up in the data feed will show up as sold, so you won't get bothered about them. But your properties will show up like this. And of course, you can open this up and get more information about the property as well. And you can put in videos here, and you can put all the information about these properties. And if the forms were filled out properly, more information would be here. So all the information that is in the questionnaire that's applicable to this particular property and that we want to see on the listing site can be saved here and then transferred over to the listing site, so you don't have to keep entering it into a new system. You can use the same information over again. Pretty cool. I hope you like it.